Hello? Hello? I hope this fucking works. And I don't care if it doesn't get monetized. Can everyone see? Oops. No, that was not the pen I was using. Okay, that one is. Oh, I need some music for myself. Hold on.
You just need someone to hold your hand.
Well, don't look at me, Brooke. I'm not touching those clammy things.
Ew, for real. My hands are not clammy.
Here we go.
I can't believe I just reached
Hello,
into
hello,
a toilet
hello.
for a biscuit. What is wrong with me?
Hey, so I did that thing again where I resurrect a lost game that nobody can really
so
play anymore. Did you know the
this
Silent
is
Hill
a
Book of Memories
project that I've
people
been
developed
working
a
on for a
Luigi's
solid
Mansion
minute.
clone that plays kind of like Bop It, and it might be the highest production value mobile game of all time?
I think
Seriously,
I'm
the voice
finally
acting is
getting
top-notch, the spooky cute
the
art direction is
idea that I
peak, and they
wanted
even
you
made a
down for
million little
this.
paintings so none of the haunted house assets get reused. But I'm getting way ahead of myself. Welcome, y'all. I'm Mothy, and we're experiencing Till Morning's Light, a now delisted mobile game made by WayForward, known for the Shantae series and a bad Silent Hill title, but also some wild parodies from the 1990s like X-Fools, The Spoof Is Out There, and a ton of licensed games on the GBA and DS. They also made one of the best original mobile native games that has ever released in Till Morning's Light. We're talking one-time purchase, full game, no microtransactions, no DLC. And because it cannot be purchased any longer and smartphone games are notoriously problematic to archive, I want to take us on a journey through this nifty little handheld horror game before it blinks out of existence forever.
Ooh. Ooh. Maybe if I sound like a ghost, they'll be afraid of me?
Till Morning's Light came out in 2015 for Fire Phone, the short-lived Amazon brand smartphone, because this game was published by Amazon Game Studios in collaboration with WayForward. And that partnership likely explains the ultra-high level of care, that is to say budget, that went into this game. Director Adam Tierney had actually sketched out the concept for this game around 2008, of a girl breaking into a haunted mansion to look for her missing friend who had gone before. But WayForward never found the right time to make that project, so they sat on the idea for 5 years until Amazon approached them, comically large $ sacks of money in hand, looking to bring some high-value original titles to their Fire OS platform. They basically told WayForward they can make whatever they want, and the vaulted Till Morning's Light idea was perfect for the project, so with Amazon's backing, they popped it out less than 2 years later. Now, TML was originally going to be a Fire OS exclusive until very close to release. If you listen to the accompanying audiobook, boy, we'll get there. It ends by saying, quote, "Play Till Morning's Light exclusively on Fire phones to unravel the rest of the mystery." but thankfully the exclusivity was revoked prior to release, probably because Fire Phone sales were already plummeting, and the game did make it to Android and iOS as well. Then at some point, it's really hard to tell when a game gets delisted because that's not a celebrated event like a launch is, but the game got removed from sale in the 11 years since, becoming fuel for the Mothy Lost Media horror content farm, and here we are. Now, I've seen whispers that the Android release is no longer operable, something about getting blocked trying to connect to a decommissioned Amazon game service on launch, but the iOS version doesn't have that issue, so we're playing today on an iPhone 5 running iOS 8. Phew, that was a long intro for me, so let's start playing the game. But do please subscribe if you enjoy horror gaming and lost media content like this. Bell on too if you want notifications, because that helps me keep digging up gold like this game to share with y'all. Thank you.
Oh, is she over here?
Hurry up, Erica.
Oh, I need to pretty much.
Yeah, what's the deal? I thought you wanted to check this place out.
I do. It's just...
You just need someone to hold your hand.
Well, don't look at me, Brooke. I'm not touching those clammy things.
Ew, for real.
My hands are not clammy.
OMG, Erica, chill out. We're totes joking. Lexi, get the door.
Ooh, it's unlocked.
Beautiful. You go in first, Erica.
What?
Come on, I thought you were into this spooky crap.
Yeah, isn't that what you're always scribbling in that notebook of yours?
Maybe it's fan fiction.
Ew, probably.
But it's dark inside. I don't see any lights.
Give it to her. Problem solved, sweetie. Now get in there.
Brooke? Lexi?
Is
Right
hers
behind
over
you,
here?
Erica.
Yeah, way behind.
Yeah, she is.
No, please don't! Please! Open the door! Brooke! Lexi!
Such a drama queen.
I know, right? Come on, Erica. It's just an old house.
Yeah, it's not like you're gonna get chopped up by some axe murderer.
Oh God, what if she was? Can you imagine?
Alright. Oh, wait,
So
what?
let's start with the premise.
Nope.
Our name is Erica Page, and we were supposed to be checking out the haunted Hamilton Road mansion in Leicesterville, New England, with the mean girls from school, Brooke and Lexi, though it seems they've betrayed us into exploring alone. They'll let us out at dawn. We've got to survive till morning's light. Now, playing this game on a mobile device means the controls are all touchscreen, so we can tap a spot in
Where
the
the
room to
hell
walk
is
there, or just use the
he?
virtual joystick, which I found perfectly functional.
Antonio,
As good as it's
okay.
felt in any game. We're in a puzzle game haunted mansion, so of course the most important thing to do in any new room is sniff the perimeter for items. Some items are lying out for Erica to automatically grab when we get close, but there are also tiny, pale little interaction pips we can tap for actions like opening doors, pulling levers, and gathering flies into a jar, you'll see. The front door of the mansion has been boarded up, and we have a lot of time to kill until morning, so we might as well explore, but no matter which door we try, everything seems locked.
Alright, and then I want Helena to be smaller so that she's
What am I
about the
doing?
same size.
That is an excellent question.
Who said that?
The polite thing would be to first introduce yourself.
Erica.
What are you doing in my house,
Whoever
Erica?
it is that is
These girls
viewing
from
this,
school,
I
they
don't know.
sort of locked me inside. But if you could show me the way out, I'd be happy to leave.
Oh, I'm afraid that won't be happening.
Please?
Don't run. You'll only make this messier than it needs to be.
We will cover combat later, but for now, our first enemy type, this frog fairy looking thing, is officially called a chomper, and for killing it, we get a key with a crown.
It's a key with a crown.
There are over 100 rooms in this mansion, and a very helpful map tracks them for us. Jiggling the handle of a locked door adds that room to the map, including the type of key we'll need to open it, so I like to jiggle all the handles in a room before proceeding through the one door that I can actually open. Also, there are some interesting portraits on the walls here in the foyer. Perhaps the family who lived here?
This guy looks pretty happy. What the heck's he doing here?
But for now, our only way to proceed is through the crown door, beginning Chapter 1 on the western wing of the first floor of the mansion.
Hi.
This is the drawing room. Piles of coins sit out on the floor, so I meander to grab those as I make my patrol for loot and puzzles. We find some kind of crank,
It's some
How
kind of
you
crank.
liking it so
which causes the game
far?
to dramatically zoom in on 3 clocks around the room, just in case we were too stupid to figure out that they're the only things in the room we can't even use the crank on. We also find an old-timey photo of 2 kids splashing on the beach in Miami, possibly dated October 15th, 1930, except the date is written to appear more like a time. Well, cranking each of the smaller clocks spits out a clock hand, and we need to collect all 3. But each clock we crank is spitting out chompers, so let's chat about combat. Combat in Till Morning's Light is a mini-game. We need to time our tap on the inner green circle when the outer green circle shrinks to overlap it in order to attack the enemy. Doing so with perfect timing is worth more damage, 5 versus 3, and as long as we
The
don't
audio
miss
is
an
playing for
action,
you too. That's a copywritten video. Oh no! I was not meaning for you guys or anyone else to be able to hear that. I'm such a good YouTuber.
We never
Is it
take a hit
better
from
now?
the enemy, but every time we do miss, the enemy hits us once. And I would love to tell you that combat
I guess
is a
I
rhythm
have
game,
to
but tragically
link
that's not
that
quite
video
true.
down
I have
below.
my music off for recording, but even when you have it on, the music isn't beat
I
matched to
wasn't
the
meaning
combat
for
actions. Combat is
their
not
audio to come
musical.
through,
So
but
if
it's
you're
a
bad at rhythm games,
glorious
don't let that
video,
discourage
so
you. The
I'd
timing
highly
here is all just
recommend it.
visual and reflexive.
So professional.
That was
Me with my
Using all three
Cool
clock hands to
views.
spell out the timestamp from our beach photo on the larger mantelpiece clock pops another key out to open our next room. That's how most of this game is going to operate.
Oh, is it
Solve
still
the puzzle
coming
in one
through?
room to get the key for the next.
What were those things? And what kind of house has a creepy...
Okay, now it should be muted. I should probably pull up some references. Can you believe that I did most of this without references? Why is my eraser not behaving how I want it to? Yeah, the IDV brain rot is very strong. I think the only ones that I didn't have at least a base idea of what their designs looked like was all of the newer people. And that's just because I don't care for any of them. That's gonna be super controversial, but I was there when the game was in its infancy and not popular. Uh, which I could not remember. Ah, dang it. You have a good one. I was just gonna say that I don't even remember which characters I haven't already sketched out. Okay, I'm gonna clean that up slightly. I will try. You have fun as well. Oh, did I properly tag this? Oh goodness, I don't. How do the okay. All right. I don't know how to work stream things, so oh well. Da, 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 da. Now I need to put on some actual fucking music. So, I guess I promised that I would do a little bit of a rant, and since I'm practically alone, I'll do that here. Um, but I have recently had the worst experience I've ever had with an RP group. And sure, it's cringe to say that I roleplay, but the best way of how to practice writing stories is to roleplay at least a character and figure out what type of dialogue they would have and if the dialogue even works. It gives you practice. It's not for everyone and it doesn't work for everyone, but it worked for me. And that's all that really needs to be said. And it doesn't really matter because the subject of the role playing wasn't the part that was the bad experience. So I decided to, for Identity 5, roleplay one of the least liked characters, and I knew what I was getting into when I chose him, because I chose to roleplay as Creature Pearson, who is a bad character and has done some bad things. A lot of bad things. And I knew that going in, but I also know that without having someone to introduce conflict, you have no story. And that is something I am very, very aware of. Hold on, my dog is whining in. Oh, you're not one of mine. You're my sister's. Can you get out, Nezuko? I don't want you in my room. Alright, and where was I? So, I knew what I was getting into with choosing Creature Pearson as my character. I was advised against role-playing this character, which should have been my first red flag for this particular server. And I'm not going to name which server it is, but they will know if they ever watch this. I doubt they will, because why would they? But it wasn't the content that pissed me off. It wasn't the fact that they were uncomfortable with me role-playing as Creature. I would have dropped the character had they sat down and had a private conversation with me about it. But they didn't. All of the conversations that I had had about role-playing the character were either in a public channel or over a call where I couldn't hear the other person. So all of that led up to me getting kicked from the server without warning. And it was how they went about it that pissed me off. Because when you are moderating anything, you should give people a chance to explain themselves. Okay? You should give them a chance to express their point of view. That is something I am vehemently for. This RP group did not do that. Okay? They did not try and sit me down and ask me to stop playing the character in private or otherwise. They did not tell me they were uncomfortable in private or anywhere. Okay? They did not try to confront me at all in a civilized manner. Okay? The one thing I know is I was heading to work. I was still in the chat. Everything was going good. Everyone was very happy because it was right around the time Hertzir was about to be released. And I was being excited because I hoped other people in the group would get it. And then when I was coming home from work, I noticed that the channel was no longer in my server list. Okay? So, the part that pissed me off was that there was no defense. They just went through and kicked the person without a trial. Okay? And there were other problems with the server. I will say that. There was problems. But I was willing to give it a chance. I am a patient person and I tried to hold on to that. Okay? Because these people were younger than me. I was the oldest person in that channel. Which I think is the reason why I had a different set of expectations going in. But I've also run my own roleplay channels before. Okay? I've been in other roleplay channels. That was the worst fucking experience ever. That is the first time I've ever been banned. And the people that were complaining about me never even tried to roleplay with me. And I had other muses besides Creature. Okay? So the fact that they were complaining about a character they did not try to interact with means they weren't even trying to give me a chance. Okay? So, I don't know. The entire thing was very... It wasn't a good experience. Now, of course, there are other things that I have to complain about Like, they insisted on us using tuppers, which those of you that know what tuppers are, and those of you that don't, they can be finicky. But it's basically you use it specifically for roleplay most of the time. And it is to have that character's profile for your roleplay. So you don't have to play a guessing game as to who is fucking talking to you. Alright? Now, when I was told that we were doing tuppers, I was like, okay, hopefully there's a channel where they list out everyone's tupper usernames and which muses are attached to those tuppers. No, they don't. There is zero clarification for that group. So I was lost as hell as to who I was even talking to. Okay. Now again, I was fine with dealing with it. I was gonna pick my battles, and that one wasn't gonna be one that I was gonna pick. I still did make a slight complaint about it. And was like, hey, can we get a channel where they clarify this? Like, a list of what all these users are? And they were like, oh, yeah, no, we're not gonna do that. You just gotta search through everyone's intros to find it. Half of them I couldn't open because they were on a Google Doc that was privated. So that just I know it's just me complaining, but the fact that they did that instead of even attempting to clarify was absolute BS. It was just a very sour experience. Now it's not my first sour experience with roleplay. I will say that. But it's the first time that it's been the entire server. Okay. And I don't know if it was because the person that owned the server was extremely young or what. Like, it could have just been a lack of experience. This could have been their first one. I don't know. And I'm not gonna guess. But there's... It just seemed very unorganized and very poorly thought out. And the main reason of why I wanted some clarity on what some of these muses were is a lot of them use that spaghetti text for the usernames. So it would be like it was something like that, where it was just extremely disorganized and difficult to read, and it was in a font that I can't replicate. But I was asking for some clarification because half the time I couldn't read what was being said. It was not dyslexia friendly. It was not friendly for people with the inability to read that sort of text. I don't like how that's looking. I'll let those in post. But yeah, it was so difficult to understand who was talking at any given time. There were some positives, I will say that. Because if you wanted to have a semi-private RP, they were using the threads that Discord has. And those can be made by just the regular chat members. So I was fully alright with that. They had a group chat aspect for people to just join in at any time, though it was, I don't know, there was a lot of times where it seemed like you were discouraged from joining in just randomly, even though those were the two channels, because it was two. Technically, it was three, but I only ever did join two of them. But why am I doing that? But you were just kind of, I won't say shunned, because they still responded to you, but you were heavily discouraged from joining in on the two very public chats, and those were the ones that you were supposed to be able to just hop in it at any time. It was just... You know, I'm gonna make these. Because these are octopuses. And he's supposed to be an octopus. I don't know. The entire thing was just kind of meh. And it just makes me want to have my RP group do even better. But at the same time, it also discourages me from ever doing Identity 5 roleplay again. And I was told by someone that my creature roleplay wasn't bad. I wasn't doing what these people were saying I was doing. I was acknowledging his lore, because the big point that they had against me is, oh, you didn't seem like you were following his lore and making him as bad as he was. He's a selfish person. Creature Pearson is a flawed character in the fact that he could not see what he had done as being bad. He could recognize that he was a bad person, but not what for. Okay. Like, this is going to be spoilers for their story, but Creature Pearson did abuse the children at his orphanage. He made them work. He made them go out and beg for money while he stole from the people they were begging from. Okay. So I fully recognize that. And there was a whole bunch more that he did. But that's the stuff that I feel like wouldn't be too bad for me to say, because there is a shit ton more. But his lore is so deep and complicated, and his psyche is so deep and complicated, that I know for a fact he would never recognize the other actions that he did as being the bad thing that he did. And that's what was criticized against me. I was role-playing him as if he wasn't a bad person, is what they said. But in my eyes, I was role-playing him from his perspective. Okay, and his perspective is, I did these bad things that are against God, but this stuff should have helped these kids, and so I'm not a bad person for that. So his perspective was skewed. He would not remember some of the bad things he did because he didn't consider it bad. I gotta pull up this IDV Hester. I have been drawing his robe for too long, and I don't remember what it looks like. So, for all I care, they can hate me, they could blacklist me. I don't fucking care. This past experience has turned me away from ever joining another one of those RP servers because of how bad it was. And it just makes me scared to do so. Which is sad, because I love roleplay. I love acting out stories with people. It's a great way to connect with these people and not discover, but like share in your fascination with these characters. And I don't know, that server interaction just made it such a sour thing for me. Or at least for now. Maybe I'll forget about this in a few years. Or maybe I'll just stop role-playing altogether and just continue writing my stories. Who knows? IDV probably won't last much longer anyways, with how shitty the AI stuff has gotten. And they still haven't balanced out the game. But I don't know, we'll see. I still love the game. Not for the gameplay, but I do enjoy the characters. I don't care for the story nowadays, because there was a soft reboot around the time Alice and Nightmare and novelist and little girl were released. And that soft reboot turned the story from, oh, there's gods and goddesses and all this magic bullshit happening at this strange manor, and you could become a bad guy, to everyone's on drugs. They don't know they're on drugs, but they're on drugs. They're hallucinating the fuck out of these games. And yeah, it just. If it wasn't obvious, I do not like the whole drug angle for Identity 5. I very much hate it. And it just is quite stupid. um, oh, Victor's gonna be on the other side, isn't he? Yeah, he is. Oh, did I not finish the back of his neck? I did not. Oh, damn. I didn't have to work that hard on Harris. Half that shit is invisible. God damn it. Alright. I'm sorry for the rant. It's over with now. I can say that there are some things I loved. There was some good interaction where I wasn't shunned. People gave me a chance. And it was specifically 2 people that gave me a chance. But I learned from some other people that I'm more friends with that I invited to that server that those same people that had given me that chance had talked rude about me behind my back once I had gotten kicked. So, it is what it is. Uh, um, I don't remember if this was supposed to be Missing eye. Yeah, it was supposed to be a missing eye. He had no button there. I don't like how thick that lash is. I'm gonna give him a spotty eyebrow. I might have to do this portion just with brushes later. Because I don't think I could replicate it just using pencil. The ADHD got the better of me because I forgot to finish his fucking face. Um, I guess since I told you guys about one of the worst experiences I've ever had with roleplay, I could tell you about one of the better experiences I've had. So, it's again another ID5 roleplay. And it was one of the first ones that I ever joined for ID5. And even back then, I was trying to learn the thief because this is an old RP from like 6 years. No, it was closer to 9 because I think it was around the time that I first joined ID5. But this group had a very interesting premise for their roleplay idea. And I was like, okay, this is cool. This is interesting. Let me experiment a bit, and if I like it, I'll stay. And the premise behind it was super complex because it was ID5 characters getting reincarnated into the modern day, but their spirits being separated from the current bodies that they were supposed to have in a way that they could sometimes possess those people and take over, or even just chat with their new selves. So it was basically OC roleplay, so original character roleplay, mixed with ID5 roleplay, in a sense. And I had decided to choose Creature Pearson because I was like, okay, I don't know any of these characters except his lore. Because the other two characters that I knew the lore of were already taken. And this group, the um there was a group of people in the server that were problematic in the sense that they wanted to dictate how I roleplayed the character. They wanted me to make him the baddest of the bad and just overly a bully, but in the worst aspects. Like they wanted, I don't want to say the word, but they wanted him to have sexually abused one of the other characters. And I was just like, no, I don't want to do that. And they made an entire stink about it to the point that the owner got involved. The owner and the two moderators. And what basically ended up happening is the owners put their foot down and were like, you're not, that lore no longer applies to this character because that is now Kat's character. The moment that they took up the character, all of the stuff that you guys had predetermined for them became up to their discretion. And I was willing to roleplay him as a bad guy. I was. But I wasn't willing to go to the extent that they wanted me to. And so they continued making a big stink about it. And eventually it resulted in those people getting banned. So that was one of the instances where the owners weren't terrible. They listened to both sides of the story and were like, hey, this isn't gonna fly. You can't dictate how they roleplay. Especially since, as per their ruling, it was pretty much RP roleplay, or it was OC roleplay, just with extra steps. So that was one of the good ones, the good experiences. And I had so many lovely role plays with these people. I've stuck with this group for years, and I adore all of them. One of them was in the chat earlier. But this group has stuck together since the very beginning of the game, and we've all kind of discussed it and decided we hated the drug aspect of the new lore. We all hate the AI bullshit that's going on. And we all kind of agreed we'd do our own thing, and if people liked to join us, then they could join. If they didn't like it, then oh well, it's not up to them. They could just leave. So, I don't know. It's yeah. And I've had some good ass role plays with these people. There were some bad moments, but there's also some good. And I don't want to get into too much detail because I don't know. It's not really my place to say. it's more so me venting, but me trying to not put too many people under the bus. Uh, I don't know. I know my opinion is going to be controversial, and there's always going to be people out there that are going to be like, oh, you're doing it wrong. I don't care that I'm doing it wrong. Okay, as long as a person is having fun and they're not completely ignoring the lore, like if they acknowledge some aspect of it, then I'm perfectly okay with it. And that's all that really matters to me. The two rules I have is have fun. First and foremost, that is the topmost rule. And if something is dumb and we all agree to it, get rid of it. So, for the roleplay server that I run, which is actually the rebooted version of that reincarnation RP because the old owner left. But for our RP, we decided we didn't like the drug art aspect, and we wanted to keep things filled with magic. So we put it to a vote and kept the magic in. And we also didn't really care for the whole, oh, everyone lived at separate times in the manor, and there were people that shared the exact same rooms. We said, screw that. This manor is incredibly huge. It's filled with magic. And there was only 2 rules for how the manor operated. Boys and girls were separated, and hunters and survivors were separated. That was it. So, it is what it is. Maybe have it point upwards a little. No, that looks ugly. Eh. I can't get it how I want it to look. Oh well. One of the best role players that I've ever met is from that one server, and they actually used to run their own Identity 5 roleplay server, but decided it was a bit too much for their schedule. But their main characters that they roleplayed were Haster, also known as the King in Yellow, which is one of the big reasons of why we hated the whole drug thing. And it's because they are an Eldritch fan, so they knew what the hell they were talking about. They also role-played as Jack the Ripper, so they were playing two hunters, but Haster was one of their mains. And they had some beautiful fucking text. I'm not gonna name their names, but if they watch this, they're gonna know who the hell they are. And my dude, you are glorious. Your roleplay is chef's kiss. But I'm not gonna name you because I value your privacy. But they roleplayed as Haster, and they had some of the longest text. I will say that. But they had some beautiful descriptions, and it was always so over the top. And not in a bad way. Like, they were descriptive as hell, but in a way that still left things up to your imagination. And I don't know, there's no real way for me to get my words across because I'm not that good with words. But I adored their work, and I could not commend them enough. Like, they deserve all of the praise, even though I'm not going to name them here. But yeah. And I'm sorry for ranting for so long. Maybe I should put on some music for you guys. Let me find one that's non-copy. Actually, that's gonna wind up with some AI fucking music, and I don't want that. We don't want AI. Is there like a Vocaloid music box thing that I could just put on? Because Vocaloid, even though it's technically copywritten, it's also at the same time not able to be copywritten because it's, I don't know, because it's separate authors, or not separate authors, separate artists. I don't know. We're gonna try it. If this video gets taken down, oh fucking well. I don't plan on making money on YouTube, so it is what it is. Let me turn that down at least, though. Despite what people may think, my favorite character is not Creature Pearson. It never has been. Like, he's my favorite one to roleplay just because the dynamic is interesting. But my favorite in-game character is actually Explorer, so Frank. And it's mostly because I adore Going Tiny. I hate the little screeching violin that bit's grating on my ears. But I adore the Going Tiny. I adore the whole digging the pages mechanic. And I adore hiding. And I used to be super into playing the Mind's Eye, so Helena Adams. But then they changed how her sight worked, and that threw me off my groove, and I didn't care for it. It was just meh. Did not care. But yeah, my favorite character in the game is actually Kurt Frank. I adore the crazy book lover. I adore the man that is crazy for stories like 10,000 Leagues Under the Sea or Alice in Wonderland. And even though I didn't really care for Gulliver's Travels, I adore the Lilliputian skin. And I hope I pronounced that correctly, but I'm not gonna try again. But I adore all of his costumes, especially his one for the tortoise and the hare, because surprisingly enough, they mentioned the tortoise and the hare in one of his earliest costumes, and I adore it because he's the tortoise. Hyphy. But I adore Kurt Frank's costumes, and I don't know what his most recent one, what is it called? I think it's called, like, Editor's Work or something like that. I don't know what that one is supposed to reference, because all of his A tiers and S tiers are supposed to reference books, TV shows, etc., because he's a book nerd. But I don't know what his is supposed to reference. I don't know what that one is, because it could just be generic journalist bullshit, or it could be Spider-Man, because it does have like a robotic spider on it. I don't know who that person is, and I don't know what that means. Let me... Can I translate this? Sorry, I don't know kanji. Your English equipment keeps breaking down. Okay. Well, I hope you enjoy. Whoever this is, you're fine. God, my Japanese is rusty. I don't remember how to say things. It's not gomenasai. That one's I'm sorry. Alright, whoever you are. But yeah, Kurt Frank is my favorite. Welcome to the chat. I'm sorry your stuff keeps breaking. Right. I was just getting finished with my rant about how much I love Kurt. Congrats, I hope it works fine. Do I want to work on super complicated character with horns, or do I want to work on super complicated character with dreads? I'll have to move these guys off first, because if I'm gonna do the horns, I gotta... Yeah. Thank you! I've been told many good things about my art, and from my perspective, my art is... I won't say trash, but it could be better. Oh, thank you! I don't really post much, so I'm sorry. I'm just realizing how much I hated how that collar looked. Oh. We're gonna give it a little flip right there. I'm sorry you got to... I can't handle it. No. Not that good. No. Thank you guys for your kind praise, but... No. I could do so much better. Yeah. And I'm so sorry, Fee. You're having to witness me going on a tirade about a game you don't know how to play, you don't care to play. And I know you don't know how to play it. Okay, we're gonna... Alright, we'll size it to match him. So, yeah, that's about the size that we need. Okay. And... Thank you, Fee. Yeah, that guy's name was Matthias. Right? Why am I trying to ask you? You won't know it. Let me look up the puppeteer, hold on. IDV puppeteer. What is your name? Okay, that is his name. Okay. I was super worried. Thanks. Alright. I nearly have the first 5 characters of the game completely put in. They're almost slotted in. And ignore the fact that Michiko, Helena, and Yidra are all red while everyone else is a bluish purple color. Oh, and Antonio. I forgot what color I was using when I was drawing with them. I'll change all the line art to black eventually, but ignore it for the moment. Alright, now I could turn that off, and I could start on my hill, because I have to draw a moose. Or deer? What is he? I don't know if I want the answer. I always thought moose, but I think I could be wrong. Which, this was one of the hellish characters for me, because I don't draw animals. I looked up so many references for this, and it didn't matter because his facial shape is not built like a moose, but it's not built like a deer. It's just... Animals are hard to draw, but so are people. It's just that I hyper-focused on learning to draw one and completely ignored drawing the other. Or learning to draw the other. Kind of want that to be larger. I gave him such pretty eyes, but he's a fearsome character in game. Like, he's such a scary character in looks. But then I drew him so pretty. So ethereal. And I need to clean that up a lot. Well, the entire game is a cutesy art style, but his character design is one of the scarier ones in comparison to the more recent ones, which are kind of hot. Like, for the more recent hunters and survivors, they have very much pivoted to make them more aesthetically pleasing, because they know sex sells. We're gonna add some scratches. Yeah. Like, the entire game was conceived as a horror game, and this hunter was actually one of the first 3 for the game. And you could tell that because they all have the base form. The same base form. Except for one, because the other one was Jack the Ripper, and he is a spindly noodle. Yeah. But yeah, his mechanics were supposed to be a lot more terrifying. all of theirs were, because the more recent version of the game, or the version that came to the public eye, introduced these things called rocket chairs. And that, because the entire game is not isometric, what is the terminology? It's basically Dead by Daylight, but cutesy. With a slight horror aesthetic and a Coraline doll look. Because the survivors are all button-eyed in the actual game. But for the game, it was conceived in China and was developed in China. But China has some very severe laws against horror. To the point where Death Note is completely banned over there. Yeah, there's so many laws over there that are ridiculous, but some of the stuff that was originally conceived for Identity V, they physically could not do with it being hosted in China. So they had to change some things. The rocket chairs were originally going to be nooses. And after the timer, the rope would pull back and fully choke out the survivor. The original weapon for the clown, who is my least favorite character in the game, but I'll get into that later. But it's not even because he's a clown. No, it's gameplay related. But his original weapon was a chainsaw. The Ripper's weapon hasn't changed because it's a glove with a bunch of knives on it, but I think they dulled down the knives. And the original weapon for this character known as the Hell Ember, I believe, was a machete, and now it is a plush shark. So, things used to be a lot different. Yeah, Edward Scissorhands kind of deal, which is hilarious because there was actually a collaboration event where Jack the Ripper got an Edward Scissorhands costume. So, fun fact for you. Yeah. Yeah, it was a good crossover. There was planned to be an even better one, but then the creators of Coraline discovered that the Dream Witch, who is one of my favorite character designs, was actually a stolen design from their studio. It was the beta design for the other mother. They used that sculpt as a basis for how the Dream Witch would look. And as soon as they learned that, they were like, oh, nope, not doing this anymore. Which is fair. But it was planned for there to be a Coraline crossover event, and it never happened. Because stolen assets. I need to look at... Hold on. IDV Bane. Images. How do your fucking antlers look? Okay, they're nice and spiky. Hold on. I don't know why I'm even bothering. You won't be able to see this. In the final product, these antlers are not going to be visible. But I'll know. I'll be the one to know. Oh, there's actually... Hold on. I just now noticed there is a scar right there. Yeah. Well, this was years ago that it was planned, so... And it was also years ago that the design was stolen, so... And even then, it was... They stole the upper half of her frame. Because they stole the facial shape and then the way of how the chest looked. Everything else was pretty much original content. And I could actually pull up the image, hold on. Because you could, it is plainly obvious when you look at it. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Is it no longer available on Google straight up? Oh wait, this is not the Google. There it is. I found it on Pinterest. So like, it is plainly obvious that they stole this design. Yeah. Though I don't know if the studio behind Coraline can really claim anything because it is a beta design and it is thus not official. And they decided that they didn't want to use it purely because it wasn't in their best interest to. Yeah. It's a great chance for it to get a second life. And even then, their design had some changes. And by some, I mean there was quite a few changes in the fact that the other mother was based around spiders and needles. Yidra is a fucking snake. Like, her bottom half, once it gets past her waist, that is a snake. She is pretty much a gorgon. But cooler because she's actually an eldritch goddess. Fun fact for you. We're gonna have him actually take up 2 spots. Thanks, I'm calling it quits on that. I'm tired of drawing him. And I really don't want to work on William's hair right now. So we will go with someone else. Hello. I don't know who this is, but hi. Oh, that is way too far in. And let's bring that. Oh, great, I got it. Alright. Okay, I am on the right layer. Okay, get her facial structure right, because this is very important to me. Fun fact about this project, I have been trying to work on a group picture of all of the characters in Identity 5 for like 9 fucking years by now. But I've hated it every single time I've gone back to the piece, and so it never got finished. So I'm hoping that I can get done with this and just call it quits eventually. I don't like how that hair strand looks. That is too big. Clean up that hair strand because I fucking hate it. Do 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 do. Sorry for my potty mouth. What was I talking about? I completely lost my train of thought. How's the thesis going? You don't have to go into detail about the thesis. Just, is it going good? You just having good progress on it or just kind of being slow. What's your gauge for it? Understandable. I hated doing reports for anything, so I fully understand. But hey, you're continuing your schooling, so it's good. Glad it's going better for you than you thought it would. We're gonna round her ear off. Nice! That is fully up to you on if you're gonna get your PhD. So, congrats! Alright, we're gonna scroll over a little bit. For anyone new, because I know there are new people here for some reason, I've just been ranting about different things. I'm sorry for your ears. I promise I'm more of a dumbass than I am right here. I'm not sane. I'm saner than some people on the internet. But I'm normal in the fact that I'm crazy. Oh, that wasn't the vent. The vent was me talking about me and my terrible experience with an RP group. That one was just me excitedly talking about character design and how I wish this collaboration event didn't fall through because someone not because someone had decided to take inspiration from someone else. Because even though the design was most of the way copied, there were some original parts to it. You can't claim 100% of a design for yourself. You can claim the style that it's in. And that's where the group for Identity 5 messed up. Because they directly copied the style that was in. But yeah. There I go again, going on another tangent. Yep. You are 100% correct there. And I don't know who the sculptor was for that particular model. I know that there were several sketch artists, and I don't know them by name. But I don't know who specifically worked on this model. Okay, where's Keegan on here? There's Grace. So Keegan, yeah, Keegan's right here. Oh, I'm nearly done with that row. Oh, who am I missing? So, I need Grace. Philip was one of the ones that I haven't sketched out yet. And Grace is one I haven't sketched out either, I don't think. Have I? I'm confused. I don't know. Right. Ithaqua and Frederick Kreberg. And with those, I will be done with a row. Or, the easier one would be this row, because I'm missing technically 4. This one technically being the same character, but 2 different aspects, which is a fun mechanic for Identify that I will commend them for. I just wish they didn't introduce it in the way that they did. Because it's called identity switching in the game, and it's supposed to be for the hunter versus the survivor side, so good versus evil. But the way of how they implemented it was by claiming story-wise, oh, this is how people see them while on hallucinogenics. And that's the part that I hate about it. Because it ruined the story for me. One of my least favorite things in media is when welcome back. But my least favorite thing in media is when there's anything vaguely magical going on, and they go and explain it away as, oh, they were just on drugs. They were doing drugs. It's my least favorite thing in the world. Alright, Fee. Yeah. It is not a fun thing for a story to just end with someone or something being drug related. Let there be magic, man. Sure, the magic rules can be convoluted as fuck. You don't always have to explain them. Especially in horror. Like, horror is one of the few places where you don't have to explain the rules for shit. Okay, that is one of the places where you do not establish rules, unless it is to establish an audio cue. Because the best horror does not allow there to be any way for the horror to die. Okay, the best horror is when there is no hope for survival. Or for being saved. Sure, you can have rules to establish why a character will show up. The Grudge is a perfect example because it's literally, oh, she's just haunting this one specific house, and if you happen to go in it at all, she will stalk you for the rest of your fucking life. Until you are dead. Or the Grudge, or not the Grudge, the Ring. This little girl, her death was videotaped and she was thrown down a fucking well. If you watch her tape, you'll die within 7 days. That is the rule set. And for both of those cases, there is an audio cue established for when those characters will show up. But there's no way to fucking kill them. Unless you count the more recent movies, in which case those suck. Yeah. The hallucinogenics don't make sense for the story. And I can name at least 2 reasons of why it doesn't. And those 2 reasons are Haster and Yidra. Because both of them are gods. How the fuck are you going to be able to satisfyingly explain away those 2? Okay. You can't. Because no matter what, you are going to piss someone off. And sure, you can argue, oh, everyone has opinions, you're gonna piss them off anyways. Yeah, but you do not mess with pre-established gods. You don't try to depower them just to make them fit your fucking story. You can make there be a limit to their power, which is still technically depowering them, but you don't make someone roleplay those gods that are pre-established to already be there and to exist, and people know what those gods are, especially since the King in Yellow is one of the 3 most well-known gods in the Eldritch mythos. You do not fuck with the King in Yellow. That is one of the 3 stories that you do not mess with. So, Yidra I would fully understand. I don't know how they would make a Snake Lady canon. I don't know how they could manage to make her drug-induced. But Haster, there is no way that you can make sure he is done well and not upset people. Yeah, that's also another thing. They're gonna make Haster's human self be such a good-looking character, and he's supposed to be a monster. They don't often go out of their way to make someone less attractive. And I appreciated it when they did. 'Cause Keegan, I know she's not the most attractive character, but at least they fucking did it. And then the newer guy, the goat man. I don't know his name, but the goat man, I adore his design. I hate his gameplay. But I adore his design. And I appreciate the fact that they put him in there. Welcome back. Welcome back, Fee. I'm back to ranting because Cell and I are in agreement that one of the Identity 5 story mechanics is stupid. And we're both just here ranting. But we've also been playing the game since it came out, so we could have those opinions. Yeah, you left me for 5 minutes and I'm already ranting with someone. But yeah, we were just talking about how stupid it was for them to introduce the whole mechanic of, oh, this is happening because drugs. When 2 of the characters that they had, and were already pre-established that they had, was Haster, who is based on the King in Yellow, one of the 3 most well-known gods of the Eldritch mythos, and Yidra, who is a lesser-known god, but is still a god from that same mythos. So, we're both sitting here. Yeah, the "it's all a dream" narrative is very stupid as well. So, we were both ranting about how much that narrative was such a cop-out, and it was so stupid for them to have done it. The alcohol pink elephant scene was brilliant, but I think that was just because of how they animated it. I think if it... because it did actually come out recently because of the whole live action bit, which is actually stupid for them to call it live action because only half of it was live action, the other half was animated as fuck. But the live action animated Dumbo did that scene, didn't they? And people hated that scene because of how they did it. It was a wild time back then. A lot of those animators were probably on drugs. I mean, Lewis Carroll was on a shit ton of drugs when he wrote Alice in Wonderland. But that was also the guy that was thirsting after a child, and that story was about that child that he was fantasizing about. So I can't say much. Yeah. Got broken up. But yeah, I do not care for the everyone's on drugs theme. I don't care for the it's all a dream thing. And especially if there's pre-established rules that would contradict that storyline. And the whole everyone's on drugs thing was from a reboot of the game's lore. And it was a soft reboot because they didn't change anything from previous, except for who the bad guy was going to be. But in a way they didn't change. How the fuck would you frame that? Because Orpheus was still the bad guy, they just changed him to be a pretty boy. True. Yeah, it was them practicing their animation chops. Now this is just making me think about that one little meme audio bit from Cartoon Network where it's that praying mantis guy who's like, "Oh, let me move my arm. That cost the Cartoon Network's 93 cents to animate." Yeah, and they also added 2 new characters that no one really cares, or, well, I don't really care for. Like, their gameplay is alright. Don't really care for their personalities, because they don't really have one. They're a Mary Sue. And you can't say that Alice isn't, because she fucking is. There is no way she should have survived. It may not have been, because this was from years ago. It was back when drawing hands was a very expensive venture. And so a lot of the animation was pretty much just stills with them moving occasionally and then a lot of lip syncing. And even then, the lip syncing wasn't perfect. I'll have to try and find it and send it to you, Sel. But that thing's old as hell. I don't even remember what the name of the show it's from is. Because it wasn't Cartoon Planet, was it? Thank you, I drew it myself. I want to get a professional VTuber model done, but at the same time, it's like, this is my baby. I don't know if I want people to touch her and ruin her. That might be what it was. I will believe you. Let me actually look. Space Ghost Coast to Coast. Coast to Coast. Ah, dang it. It didn't. Space Ghost. Coast to Coast. Yeah, that was it. I think that was one of the ones that ended up getting banned a lot. Wasn't it? Because they made a lot of adult jokes. But it was also a different time back then. I'll have to look up the specific segment, but yeah. Is he a grasshopper? I always thought he was supposed to be a praying mantis based off the shape of his head. I think this is re-memory. What time is this? This is 57:57. Oh, this is Cantarella. Oh, the one right before that was Meltdown. Ooh, that one's a good song. Meltdown was the one about someone that wanted to commit suicide, which is actually a lot of Vocaloid songs. It's okay, Fee. Yeah, I don't get what it means. I'm too much of American for me to understand what the language is supposed to, like, I don't know what parcels is supposed to mean. My best guess is that it's a package. But I don't fucking know. I'll make that assumption, but I don't know. Uh, what was I doing for the hair right here? I don't remember. Oh, it looks like I... Yep. I did that number and had it curl inwards for some reason. I guess. It's weird that it stops so abruptly, so I'm gonna add some shit right here. So we're gonna have it. And now that just looks weird. We're gonna have it curl only slight. Yeah, I know. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, this one's Romeo and Cinderella. I already know based off the beats. Yeah. And yet, a lot of people don't tend to acknowledge that wrongdoing, but they're completely willing to acknowledge the complete wrongdoing of other messed up characters. Sure, the Joker, like, from Identity 5, Joker was abused, but not to some people's extent. Like, there was a choice made. And his action was extremely messed up. Like, why don't people tend to acknowledge this point of his lore a lot more? And wasn't that point of lore from before? Yeah, they've really wanted it to be DC's Joker, but at the same time not. It's copyright distinct Joker. Yeah, there's so much lore that people like to ignore, but at the same time point out other people's lore and say, oh, you can't ignore that. Why the fuck would you ignore that bit? Oh no, that's just me ranting again. I'm allowed to. I had a very bad RP experience. Mm-hmm. Oh, I gotta extend his shit down. Actually, I don't, because I'm gonna change up the viewpoints anyways. Which I worked very hard on Michiko's hair. I hope you adore it. I had to look up so many references for that shit. Welcome back. You missed me doing another tiny little rant and then us talking about Joker. But specifically Identity 5 Joker, who is the clown. Which this character right here, people don't tend to acknowledge her wrongdoings either. Like, she stalked her own doctor and burned a person alive. And it's implied she may have done it multiple times. Like, yeah, this character, Emma Woods, she stalked her own doctor because she was a mental asylum patient. Like, the story takes place back in the 1920s. Or technically 1930s, it's up in the air. Because they can't land on a style that they want to stick to. Or a time period. But it's implied to take place about around World War I. But one of the other characters that she had interacted with was a doctor from that same asylum who used to go by Lydia Jones, but changed her name to Emily Dyer after she did an abortion surgery that went wrong. And back then, anything to purge a child was very fucking illegal. Like, and especially surgeries. Like, medicine was still such a new thing in terms of being approved. And it was even more wild for a woman to be doing it. But Emma Woods had gotten a crush on this doctor that was treating her. Or I think, was Emily Dyer actually the one treating her, or was she just one of Emma's doctors? I don't remember. I know that Emily worked at that asylum, but I don't... Yeah. Yeah, but Emily nor Emma would have known about each other's connection to that. So the fact that it was Emma's sibling doesn't really matter. Because that's even more of the fucked up part. Because that entire 5 people had such a convoluted but well webbed together storyline. And I wish they would do so with the others, but I know they're not going to because they got lazy. Yeah, I know. But yeah, Emma is a messed up character by a long shot. And I will not excuse her actions, even though she is one of the people that was hurt by the thief, Creature Pearson. She's not free of her actions either. Cause she burnt down. It's implied that she was the reason of why all of the people at White Sands Street Asylum were able to escape. Because she set fire to the place. That is what is implied with her storyline. So, she has a long history of fire. Yeah, she could have made different decisions. People need to hold a lot of these characters more accountable than they do. But they're like, oh, but she's pretty. She's got pretty privilege. She's the poster child for Identity 5. Or she used to be. Now I think, isn't it like, which one is it now? It used to be Mercenary and the Gardener. Now isn't it like, Emily? Or not what is her name? Journalist. What the fuck is her name? I don't know her name. But a lot of these characters have some fucked up backstories. Like, Emma's doesn't end at her being an arsonist, because it's implied she set fire to a person while they were unconscious in a scarecrow costume, which there's... I'll maybe get into that, because that one was weird, but at the same time, why the fuck would you set fire to this scarecrow? Okay, Alice. Yeah, she is the poster child. Yeah. The person in the costume was Creature Pearson, which is... He's done a lot of bad shit, but his bad shit doesn't include murder. His just includes thievery and abuse. And not treating women right, which was common for the time period. But yeah. It's also implied that Emma may have ended up accidentally killing Emily on accident. Yeah, people try to make the case of, oh, it's alright, because he was her abuser. If you were to put anyone else in that same situation, they would not be saying the same shit. They would be like, oh, she's unredeemable. She burned this person while they were unconscious. You have to look at it from multiple angles. You can't just make the defense, oh, it's fine because he was her abuser. That doesn't make it any better. It's still murder. But yeah. Because of how disproportionate the hatred is, Emma actually isn't one of my preferred characters. Like, I'll play her in games to harass the killer, but I don't care for her as a character. She's just supposed to be that bubbly poster child that's a liar. And I'm not a huge fan of liars, I've come to find out. Yep. There's no true defense. Like, even if she is mentally ill, it's still murder. Like, Kurt Frank, he was arguably even more mentally ill than Emma Woods. Like, you can argue that the man was more mentally unstable because he had delusional schizophrenia. But he never fucking murdered anyone. Creature is a liar to himself. But he was still honest. He would lie to himself about how bad his crimes actually were. Emma lied to other people about how bad she actually was. So there's some nuance to it, as there is in everything. We're gonna do that. But yeah, I don't really care for Emma as a character because people try to defend her too hard. But Kurt Frank, who is my absolute favorite character in the entire fucking game, he is the sweet sunshine child that is the mentally ill one. Yeah, that is Creature's reasoning. He knew no better. He was taught on the streets. And the streets were not kind. Yeah, Kurt is best boy, because he was the mentally ill bitch, but he never fucking murdered anyone. He witnessed a murder, but he couldn't tell you that he witnessed a murder in straight words. Because the thing about delusional schizophrenia is, he convinced himself that it was just someone getting mauled by a monster. So he warned someone about the monster, and that person he warned was the killer. And Kurt, the poor boy, got murdered because he knew too much. I love my boy Kurt. He deserved the world. Yeah, that is the big thing. A lot of mental disorders are depicted poorly, and I don't know what the fuck Emma was supposed to be depicted as. Maybe she was supposed to be psychotic, but whatever, they didn't explain what she was diagnosed with, and whatever it was, they depicted it fucking poorly, because the only thing that made you realize she was mentally ill was she was sent to an asylum. But even then, during that time period, normal, healthy women were sent there. People that just had being a woman disease were sent there. Yeah, that is a point Cell has. There is the cutscene with, oh, but he stabbed Survey Leroy. That's not canon. That is what Surveys thought would happen. It's not what actually happened. What actually happened was weirdo Kurt Frank was excitedly talking to this guy, but got pissed off and decided to storm off. Yep. There are so many characters in the game that have fucked up backstories, but they don't get reprimanded at all. Like, the Prospector, Norton Campbell. Yep. Surveys would have been dead long before his actual fucking murder. Cause wasn't that like chapter fucking 1? Anyways. But Norton Campbell is a perfect example of pretty privilege. Because he was the sole survivor of a mine collapse, but he's the one that convinced these people to go into those mines, and he survived because he cannibalized them. It's implied that he became the cannibal that ate them. Okay. It's implied that that's how he fucking survived. There's worse backstories than that. And then there's some that's not so bad, like Keegan. So this character, she was made fun of because she was chubby. And I think that's the majority of her backstory. Like, she became a successful clerk for a courtroom. But she was just made fun of because she was chubby. because she wasn't attractive. I think that is, like, correct me if I'm wrong, that is Keegan's backstory, isn't it? She may have had more than that, but I'm pretty sure it was literally just... yeah, she was a woman. That was the other thing. So, yeah. Compared to Keegan, who is a hunter, a lot of the survivors have some very fucked up backstories. And yet a lot of those survivors will get away with it in the public's eye because of privilege. And that there's characters that people absolutely hate despite the fact that they have pretty privilege. Because there's Richard Sterling, who is the knight. And he's hated because he was an abuser that fantasized about being a knight. And would force his roleplay on his sister, I believe, is his backstory. So also hating women. Which is, again, common for the fucking time period. It's still not good, but it was common for the time period. So was racism. And in fact, that was arguably worse. And yet, two of your most popular and used characters. Alright, have a good one, Fee. Two of the most popular characters and well-loved are black characters. That's if I do another one. I don't know if I'll ever do this again. Love you. And that's not a criticism against William and Patricia. I adore them. Their designs are glorious. They're so pretty. But I don't know, you have to look at things from the perspective of the time period that you are trying to make your story for. It's sad to say. Sad to say, things were fucked up back in the past. Things are fucked up here in the future. Yeah, I don't know much about Keegan's backstory, I will admit. Most of the newer characters' backstories kind of bored me because of how simplistic and overused they are. Like, what's his name? What's the firefighter? Yeah, Patricia and William, they were accurate in how they do it. There are too many new characters, I will admit. Florian. Yeah, I don't care for Florian. His backstory is fire. He burnt something down. Matthias Serznin. His backstory is he burnt a puppet. And it ended up burning his face. Richard Sterling, I'm pretty sure he burnt something down too, didn't he? Florian was another asylum victim? Damn, I missed that part. How many does that make that now? 8 from the asylum? And they don't have that map in rotation anymore? They really need to rework that asylum map, because if they're gonna have so many people that were a part of that asylum, they need to rework it to include Easter eggs for them. And rework it to be back in play. I will say that. But yeah, you're recycling the same used asset, but oh my god, wow, he's so unique. Look at this unique character, Billy Bob number 5. Trying to combine some layers down. There we go. So proud of how Jose turned out. And now that is almost the entire first row done. I will say that is something unique, but I think they could have done it better. I don't really want to work on them next. I still need to redo his sketch. Yeah. I think I might work on these 3 next, but that'll be a different time because my hand is starting to cramp and I have to get to bed. Alright, for now, we'll leave off with that. But hey, we made some progress. Yeah, IDV's story has gotten so convoluted and messed up that it's so difficult to follow. Yeah, there's so many people up here, but I still have so many more people to work on. And I know I'm not looking forward to at least one of them. And I'm sure people will understand why, because I changed the name on this thing. So I did not care for the fucking undead at all. But we'll get into that next time, maybe. If there is a next time, we'll see how this goes. I don't know how I'll be feeling. For now, everyone, I hope you guys had fun. I'm gonna go bed. Alright. Bye. Thanks. If I do this again, I will link it back to you. Alright. Good night.